I would say it went well. I mean, any more comments that we have? Joe was like, yeah, sure.
We are unmuted and record.
Uh-oh. Don't say anything bad.
For some reason, you're still at 45 minutes. We got enough. Right. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hear that. So what, I'm sorry. Is any someone as you get through to the side? So we're looking forward to this. Yeah, I told her to bring us. We wanted to discuss it. That agree. I think I don't really agree on anything. Well, and then they had missed it. I was trying to that plan. She said she couldn't sit 30 minutes.
Hello.
Yes, 35 to 36, depending on how the conversation started because she had 45 and another 10.
Just what I said to you, text message.
So,
Yeah. I said it to me last case. I thought we went. It could.
He came in to fix it.
Yeah, well, I guess it was
He's got a watch on it. You can call him.
just a slight change. Oh, just to
Yeah, sure.
make sure that we're making reference to.
Anyway, we'll just get started.
Change.
Oh,
That's,
yeah, I mean, I just didn't want to be out there on it. No, there's a lot of stuff I will, but what I'm worried about. Yeah, that's what I'm there. There's like anything once you talk about it, what is right, and what is that right? Later on, because this encompasses the whole stretch.
or at 7:30, so we'll call the regular meeting to order. There are some other people over there, I see. Virginia's going to admit anyone that hasn't already been admitted.
This is Joni again. I wonder if it's Carl and why that.
Well, tell him to change it.
Oh, I bet it is. It
Yeah,
is
really?
Carl, because he was here. We had no power to that system when I came in. And I called him,
I'm gonna
came down and
stop this video.
figured out what the problem was. So, and he said he was going to join
Video before that got it.
the meeting via Zoom.
So Galaxy Tab A. That's
All right.
Yeah.
Mike, would you call the roll, please?
I certainly will. Mike Cadler,
Here.
Jody Manson.
Here.
Bruce Hammond. Here. Jeannie Lewis.
here.
Tom Need.
Here.
Brittany Hopper.
Here.
Thank you. All present. Gentlemen, members of the public. Actually, I have to introduce you. You're two officials. Jim Steelsmith and Bill McCleary. Bruce, sorry, I said that, didn't I? I said Bill. Bruce McCleary, they're both on the Strategic Planning Committee. And Mike Cannon is here also in the back of the room. Mike is our Director of Zoning. We have no other members present here, but apparently we have a few people who have joined us on Zoom. We're opening the regular meeting first. We do have the resumption of continued hearing. That's scheduled to start at 7:45. That's on PRCD 2301. And Joe Clace is planning to be here for that discussion. At this point, let me look here down the road. I was anticipating we're going to have someone bring in a zoning application tonight, but I don't see anyone here. So I guess that's not going to be the case. Now, we do have 5 sets of minutes that are in print here now, and these have been corrected with based upon input that was provided electronically to Amanda. I haven't had we've got the hard copies. If there's any additional corrections, what I thought we could do would
Yep.
be, we could make any corrections on the hard copy.
Yep.
Give one copy back to Mike, and then you carry that back to Amanda, so that, because whatever changes we make at this point should be relatively small, if any. And then she can make those corrections. Because we will try to approve them. If we have time, we'll do that tonight, get them approved. I know on February the 6th, I don't have any corrections beyond what I had already made before. Does anyone else? This is for the regular meeting. This is both the initial part of our meeting, and then after we reconvene following the hearing, it's all on one page.
This is not necessarily pertaining to these minutes, but we have one user who does not have a name. Are the Zoom people who Zoom in still being included in the minutes? I don't see any on any of, oh wait, we have one via Zoom. So I need to ask that person to.
Yeah, we
say
need
their
to
name then.
find out, okay. Let's see.
I just wanted to make sure we were still including those before I vote them.
Yeah, we do need to list them, Virginia. Thank you for asking.
Did we,
So no, I don't have any other changes for those
did
minutes.
we say what time we started for Amanda? Did you say the time? Yeah,
I
we do
didn't
one.
say the time. We started at 7:30.
Okay,
I looked at my watch when we started, but I didn't say it.
in relation to the minutes, the
And
correction.
I
we
don't
had,
know
we
who
did
that
it.
person is, Virginia.
Are you
Which
done?
one is it that we need to ask to give us their name?
Galaxy Tab A, I was going to send them a chat.
Okay, Galaxy Tab, if you would identify yourself so that we can include your name as part of our minutes, since you are a member of the public participating. You can open your mic, you're muted, but you can open it and give us your name.
One other thing, do we need to say these names out loud or are these on the recording somewhere?
Well, they're on the video, but why don't
Okay.
we go ahead and do it? How is she doing it? I don't know, Mike. Is she just listening or is she looking at the video?
She's just listening to it through that.
Okay, then we need to say the names for sure.
So via Zoom, we have Matthew Bryant, Paul Johnson, and Bob Singer. Still waiting on a name. Oh, Carl Richardson is there too. Still waiting on a name for Galaxy Tab A.
Okay, we have no name for Galaxy Tab A as yet. Okay. Back to the minutes on
Sorry.
February the 6th.
I had sent those two updates, but it looks like she already fixed the approve. And she took out that sentence where there was a question about Duncan Run Road. I think she just took it out, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it wasn't Duncan Run Road that he was referring to. I know he was referring to Duncan Run Creek.
Run Creek, yeah, but I don't think it was really that important, so I'm fine with it being.
Yeah, I think it's fine without it too. Okay, then on this set of minutes, is there a motion to approve February 6th?
I make a motion that we approve the February 6th regular monthly meeting minutes as corrected.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Moved by Virginia, seconded by Brittany. Any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. February 6 minutes are approved as corrected. No additional corrections tonight. February 6th hearing. We opened the hearing on SREI Fund 4, PRCD 2301. And these minutes are for the first section, first session, I should say, because we continued this hearing to the 27th, and then we ended up continuing from the 27th to tonight. So these, I just want to ask, do we have any corrections beyond what was have already been made to these minutes?
Yeah, I just see that on the last page there.
On the last page?
Oh, no, okay, that's okay. It is. It was scheduled for 7:30 rather than 7:45. Sorry. It's okay.
Okay,
I don't have a correction, but I do have a comment for Mike and for Amanda. The public notice reads in part, SREI Fund 4 is seeking to rezone 67.929 acres from the current zoning. I think, and that comes from the verbiage that we've always used in the advertisements, but I think on PRCDs, we should not use the word rezoning, we should use apply for an overlay district
I changed that for,
in the tech, in the.
In the public notice.
no, I changed it in the public notice for tonight's meeting,
Okay,
but I did not, we can't change this.
we can't
because-
change, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If Amanda is putting in the advertisements, she should be careful about how the wording is on PRCDs. It should be different than a regular rezoning.
And that's why I changed the wording, which they did. What's up for the current zoning is, I don't remember exactly how I worded it, but basically it does say something to the effect that they are applying to pull
When she's
pull
putting it
down
in,
the
you guys
overlay.
tell her what to put into the newspaper.
Yeah, that will go into the newspaper and it gets posted here.
Yeah, yeah. You guys tell her what to have them, the wording you want
Well,
put in there.
in the past, the zoning secretary continued to use on a regular basis, and that's why this wording is the way that it was, because Sherry just used the standard wording that she has always used. And
And
did not,
have an overlay before, so.
right,
Yeah,
this
so-
is the first overlay district we dealt
You
with.
just need to
But the
correct
wording does need to be
Yeah.
slightly different, and the wording that I submitted for reconvening tonight uses wording that's different. It does not call it a rezone. But it calls it to apply for bringing down the overlay district onto this property. So that kind of wording needs to be continued if we have another, or I shouldn't say if, we will, I'm sure, when we have another
Yeah.
PRCD or any other kind of an overlay application that comes in the future. And she'll understand that in the future. Obviously, she's new too, so
Well, now she has an example to work with for
that's correct.
overlays.
Yeah, we do have an example now. I had not. We couldn't correct it because this is what actually went out in the newspaper. Any other changes? Or anything you want to bring? Okay, then we'll take a motion on this set of minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes for the hearing for PRCD 2301 as corrected.
Okay, February 6th. I got a
Second.
motion to approve by Joni and seconded by Virginia. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, these minutes are approved as corrected. We made no additional corrections this evening. The next set of minutes is for February 13. This was our workshop meeting. I know that she's got all the corrections that I submitted to her that are in here.
I'm just going to have to believe she did. I'll make a motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes of February 13th as corrected.
All right, moved by Joni and a second, please.
Second.
Seconded by Brittany. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
All right,
Aye.
Aye. Okay, these minutes are then approved. as corrected. And then there must have been, I'm not sure. I got a little note here from Amanda, so I don't know if
Yeah, I got it.
everyone's, okay, everyone got. Well, she says the spacing was corrected on this copy for the official copy in the book, because there must have been there were some spacing issues, I guess, previously on maybe an electronic copy that we had looked at.
Are you doing the regular?
I'm looking at February
Yeah.
16. Oh, this is special. This is our special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Page 2, paragraph 5.
Looks like she got it all. Everything that you guys said. Yep. That's good. If everybody's okay, I will make a motion to approve the February 16th special meeting minutes.
All right, I have a motion. How about a second?
Was that as corrected?
Yeah, yeah, as corrected. I suppose.
They were all,
They were all
see
correct.
some corrections that were submitted to the zoning assistant by electronically.
Okay.
They appeared all be in there.
Yes. All right, I've got a motion. I don't have a second.
Oh, second,
Thank you, Virginia.
sorry. I thought we did that.
No problem. All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Okay. Aye, all carries, all carried unanimously, no no's. All right, these February 16 minutes for the special meeting are approved as corrected. We have two sets left. I think, maybe no, just
We
one.
got one.
We just have one for February 16. Let's go ahead and do that one quickly unless there's if we see a problem, we'll move forward and come back to it later.
I thought Joni had some questions on it.
I don't remember what they were.
What was the question, Tom? Sorry, missed it.
Were you in blue or in red? You were in
It was
blue.
I'm
blue.
usually blue.
I see she corrected, you asked something about everyone, the raised hands. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, paragraph 4. It looks like she did add all the public present indicated by a raised hand that they had attended at least one of the meetings. What was the end? Everybody okay with that? Yep.
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the February 16th. Never mind.
All right, we can still have discussion after the motion's made, so.
We have here on my page too, but I only print them off on 8.5 by 11, so I don't know how it.
How does the paragraph start?
Mike Jones, 9691 Covan Drive.
Mike Jones. Oh,
I don't even have that on
There.
this.
it's on Tony.
Page
1,
2,
2,
the
3, 4,
fifth
5.
paragraph.
I don't,
Oh, are you
have.
looking at the wrong one?
I'm looking at February 16th.
No, that was the other one.
No, there's two for February 16th.
Yeah, but we already approved that one.
No, I thought we approved the special meeting one.
No.
Mike,
We did approve the special meeting one.
Oh,
See, of course, we said we were gonna.
it
do
was
this one
special
quickly, so
meeting.
now we're
This
not.
is.
This is for the
Talking about
the hearing on the quick strategy guide.
oh, okay.
And Mike Jones is listed up here at the top. Is there was an issue somewhere else? Tom?
Joni said, I do not understand what the last sentence is trying to say.
I think, yeah, she updated that. Does that make more sense now?
Oh, I didn't see.
Number 5, Mike Jones, that one. I think.
Here.
I think she must have taken.
Oh,
what-
I
I was
think
gonna say, I think it's clear now.
I think, yeah, I think she took what.
here it is here. Stated he is
Yeah.
concerned that the sewer language should be included in the document, not referenced in the back as an appendix. Mr. Jones wanted clarification about what it means for the sewer lines to come to the township. Mr. Jones wanted to know if it meant it would be mandatory for all residents to tap into the sewer. Ms. Matai stated that the township does not make decisions about the sewer lines as it is a county issue.
She added that last sentence to clarify, it looks like.
Okay,
Okay, good.
All right, can I make a motion that we approve the February 16th meeting minutes for the hearing of the Harlem Township Quick Strategy Guide as an addendum to the Harlem Township Comprehensive Plan as corrected?
Thank you, Virginia. And a second.
I'll second that.
And Tom needs seconded. All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. The minutes for the hearing on the quick strategy guide are approved as corrected. And Mike, we didn't have any additional corrections that need to go back. So what the copies that we received tonight are approved. All right, with that, let's recess our regular meeting and open the hearing. So,
Takes the time.
yeah. Thank you. I always forget to do that. It is now 7:49 that we're recessing. And we will call the hearing out of recess. We will continue the hearing on PRCD 2301 as of now. And it is now 7:50. All right, would you call the roll, Mike?
Tabler,
Here.
Kevin Hanson.
here,
Bruce Handle. Here. Virginia Lewis.
Here.
Tom Need.
Here.
Jimmy Hopper.
Here,
All right. We are officially back in session for the hearing on PRCD 2301. We recessed, continued the hearing from February 27th to tonight. So anyone that's out there on online participating via Zoom, this is a continuation of the hearing that originally started on February the 6th.
Thank you.
Any other ceremonials before I introduce what we're here to talk about?
All right. We're here to talk about PRCD 2301, still called States at Duncan Run on the application.
I appreciate your time. Joe Place with Plan for Land. I wanted to give you kind of a update, kind of walk you through the amendments that we made after the last hearing. Amy and Justin are here as well, so might ask them to chime in as you have questions as we walk through this. But I got a PDF up of what's submitted in front of you. Kind of go through the dynamics of it. We did change the format a little bit, make it easier if there's small amendments that we could pull a page and make those amendments appropriately through the final approval process. Also for revisions, we talked about adding tabs. So we did that to try to help with getting through the document a little bit better, reorganize the document a little bit accordingly for that as well. So cover sheet just explaining that we had a list of revisions. I kind of walk through that list of revisions and we can go to a page if there's a specific question on it. Application form is a pretty basic one. Updated the application number. I noticed it's on page 1 and 2. So I think in what was distributed to you for review, we might have just caught it on page 1, but we did make that change on page 2 as well. Inserted the word known before archaeological reference or significance on page 7. We added a minimum of 5-foot deviation and front setbacks under page 8. And stop me if you have questions along the way. I think we've reviewed a lot of this in detail, so I don't look to belabor the issues that are. Page 9, we stipulated in the last phrase that the 50% open space would not be required if it was already met with the overall development. And then under line J, we deleted after it's modified the front garage to make sure that it was at least 20 feet behind the front plane of the house to be able to be a front load garage, in keeping with our conversation at the last meeting. Page 10, modified to allow pavers in addition to pervious pavers. As we talked about, the intent sounded like it was not to eliminate pavers, but to stipulate that pervious pavers could be permitted as well. And then a series of, I think, spaces that needed added through both documents, the development text and the covenants. So I won't go through each of those in detail. We did call out the street trees, what types of street trees would be acceptable, and did that in line with Amy's plan for trees that would be permissible in the open space. We called out specific deciduous trees that would be more likely to be front yard compatible than the evergreens that's called out. So those would be listed as permitted street trees in conjunction with the conversation we had before. We added that the HOA would ensure maintenance complies with the final development plan, page 29 and on page 31. We reorganized the attachments to allow for some tabs that would help people get through the document to try to find what they're looking for. There is a collective tab at the end that's all other supporting information. And the meat of that is the last section, which is soils. So we felt the reorganization facilitated somebody finding information in the plan in a more appropriate manner in the future. There was a modification of the development plan to include a hypothetical phase line. Along with that, there was a small sliver of open space that was added between lots 7 and 8 that we had discussed at a previous meeting, just to try to reformat that lot to provide some open space. And I think the idea is there would be a potential trail connection down through that open space at some point in the future. But we've just identified and reserving that area on the plan. The vegetative strategy, there were 3 pages added to the back of the vegetative strategy to talk through what we kind of went through what's your enforceability on the vegetative strategy. And we tried to divide it into phases to talk a little bit about what would happen post plan approval, during engineering, during platting, and then during construction, and then post-construction. So I won't go through the extent of the letters in there. Obviously, that those commitments weren't there at all before. But what we're essentially saying is that up to 3 years after plan approval, that there would be some commitments from the developer, and then post turnover to the HOA, that the HOA itself would be responsible for certain types of measures, including educational maintenance plan, essentially. So I'm going to let Amy talk a little bit more about the extent of that after I get through the revisions. The covenants, I will say the majority of the changes in here were probably, they're made to a draft document. I want to make sure that's clear. We're providing this as a commitment that the covenants will be considered in this manner, but it'll evolve through the final engineering and approval processes and platting process. So everything that's spelled out in there will continue to evolve. So if there's minor changes that need to be addressed, we'll continue to make that. And the commitment that we made was we'll be presenting it to township staff along the way so that they could also see that the final development plan references and continued enforcement would obviously be a part of continued discussion. Same with the code of regulations, that there's a discussion in there. Attorney did have some comments about no disturb and no build zones, that those be further defined as a part of the plat. So part of the discussion was they're not necessarily referencing the final development plan as much as they are the subdivision plat. So if laid out as a part of the engineering approval, those phrases are going to continue to be elaborated on the plat. Didn't feel that it was necessary to call that out in development text or necessarily in the covenants because they're going to be defined as we go through that process. But we did stipulate, obviously, that they're separate. And I think there were some call outs in there about the development plan itself, final development plan, but ultimately the subdivision plat's what we're using for reference. There was a call out, one that did not make this list, but part of the discussion in there that differentiated the dues for lots 1 and 2 from those of the other lots within the subdivision, but clearly stating that they're a part of the development plan, just not of the subdivision plat. And again, that might change as we move forward with regional planning.
So you did not, at this point, you didn't get approval then for it from the county for it to become a part of the subdivision plan?
Not as of yet. We submitted today for preliminary subdivision review. So part of the review will be evolving that we'll find out likely after technical review in a couple of weeks, whether the county's supportive of putting it as a part of the subdivision plat. But right now we've submitted it as those 2 lots being NPA lots in accordance with their recommendation, just to get feedback. So the thought is we might have to file a separate plat for the north, not calling it a phase of this development. And we need to talk through kind of the legality of that. If it's a separate subdivision, does that take away any of the meat? So I think there's some further discussion to be had if it's going to be subdivision. Right now, the discussion is those have to be NPA lots in accordance with the divergence we requested.
They are a part of what we're approving as the development plan.
100%. Yes, they're a part of the development plan, just the subdivision plat itself. Right now, they're being called out separately because the county's asked us to. But we'll continue to have that dialogue with them. And our conversation today was we're going to have an open forum in front of all of them finally, where we can sit down with them and talk about that matter. So at technical review committee, we'll have that conversation and find out if we can be a little bit more persuasive, because I do think it would be cleaner overall for the entire project. Plus, it would probably guarantee the lots could be approved quicker, which would help my client out as well. If we can separate those but keep them in the subdivision platting process.
But if the county sticks to their guns and you have to no plat the 2 north parcels and subdivide the 24 south parcels.
Yeah.
What does that do to us in the future? Can we now assume that we can take a conservation district that's not contiguous?
It'd still be contiguous, but
This one has got the stream running through it.
yeah, so right now, the commitment would be that the open space would still have to be platted. We can't generate that lot we could generate as a no build lot, but it would be generated by plat because it's bound to the HOA requirements. So the residual acreage of phase 1 as identified on the plan would be a plat, no matter if they assign the 2 lots as a no plat, because it's still a part of the subdivision.
I guess my question is, does it give us more flexibility going forward?
I think it could.
Say 25 acres, but it doesn't have to be all in one contiguous parcel.
Yeah, I think it could. It'd be up to you because you set that precedent, but I don't think you're setting that precedent with this, I guess is what I'm saying. I think it is still contiguous, and it gives you the opportunity just to say, if a lot's going to front on the street, we can still have it in the development plan and the HOA, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a part of the subdivision plat if the county's not going to allow it to be.
But we're going to judge the 50% open space on the entire, including
Yes,
this other.
correct. Yeah, you're still getting the open space and it'll still have to be platted. So when we go to get the no plat, our explanation to the county in technical review is going to be, we still have to submit a plat. Why can't we just include the lots with a stipulation they're not to be accessed in the internal street? So I'm sure it's been done before. I know it's been done before. I'm not sure why they stopped allowing it. We just have to have that conversation to see why we're stuck with this process.
New staff member?
What's that?
Did they change staff?
I think prosecutor. I think we've had some turnover at the prosecutor's office. And,
Oh, we get a lot of that.
yeah. So I think
Wait till next week. It'll be a different prosecutor.
yeah, I'm not sure why, but that's part of the question is we're probably gonna have to ask the prosecutor's office why the county's taking that stance. And regional planning, ultimately, it's their decision. So if they allow it, we'll do it. If they don't, we're kind of stuck with the MPA process, but we'll still commit to platting that open space as a part of that phase. That answer it? It is a confusing topic. At the end of the day, I think we're trying to do what the county wants, but also persuade the county to understand that it's in the best interest of everybody to probably to have a uniformity in the plat. So we'll see what we can do there. The repeated mentions of the final development plan compliance throughout the HOA document, we at least hit it in a few spots. We tried to not be overbearing, but obviously make sure it's called out, and hopefully you can recognize that through the document. Additionally, we added a page on engineering certification. As mentioned at the last meeting, our engineer provided us some language about the commitments that are being made to continue dialogue with staff through the engineering approval process. So we tried to highlight that after his certification letter of the plans to indicate that best practices were used in preparing the plans. Ohio drainage law prohibits it doesn't allow us to flow water quicker or at a higher capacity than what was previously flowing through the site or flowing through the site today. So we can only make drainage better. We tried to word that in a way to make sure that that commitment's on paper, and obviously that's going to apply to any subdivision, but we feel like the wetlands are actually going to help advance that. Instead of just saying we're doing it the same as it's been done before, we're actually advancing it in quite a manner. And I did call out a commitment on there along with 2 additional team members. We called out environmental design group who's doing final engineering design for the project. And we also called out Mark Dilley, mad scientist, who will be helping with the wetland design. So they're called out on the project team earlier out in the document. But we also made a commitment here that we'd work with mad scientist environmental design on the design of those wetlands.
Where is that engineering certification in the book?
It's a letter under additional in the back.
Supporting information.
Yes, other supporting information.
It's before all those
Yeah, there's,
sewage soil stuff.
Gotcha.
and that letter remained unchanged because it facilitated language that we've used on a number of plans. So I asked him to provide some additional information. We can plan. So that second page is really the commitments that are going to discuss the dialogue we had. And with that, I think I've gotten through the main changes. Unless you had any questions, I was going to pass off to Amy just to explain a little bit about the 3 pages that we put together upon my request for our discussion about how do you actually follow through with a vegetative strategy and what the commitment that is that's being made there. So let me just ask you to detail explanations of what that is and how that, I guess, how you phrased it to help them understand. But I mean, we put together some of the meat to explain the phasing. If you have any specific questions, I'll let you throw them at her, and then obviously we'll take any general questions you have for public comment or dialogue. Yes, I can pull them up here. And I believe I can. I might have to stand at the mic though, because they're recording the meeting, so I'll play Vanna White for you.
Thank
walk you
you.
through it.
We're in your dress.
Yes, yes. And still around after so many years. It's my goal in life. Still be here.
There we go. Thanks.
Well, thanks. I'm Amy Dutt with Urban Wild. And we did work on this that with a conservation development with this much open space, it's way different than landscaping. And it's not maintenance, it's management is what you're doing. You're doing land management is what's going to be going on. So before engineering approval, like during engineering, a native vegetation plan is created, and it's created in different layers. And the first one is just the seeding of the entire site, preparing the site for seeding and getting the seed down. And then there's initial trees and shrubs, and those are the pioneer ones, the ones that are going to be, they grow the fastest into colonies, and they help just recruitment of other trees. And for the first couple years, that seeded area has to be mowed to keep back the cool season grasses and the Eurasian weeds that come in, the Queen Anne's lace, teasel, those kind of things. So the bigger trees would come in after the first year or so of mowing, because you don't want to have to mow over them. But there's 3 layers: the seed, the pioneer species, the initial stuff, and then the canopy planting plan. And then in talking with the developer, they understand that prior to construction, you have to keep things weed free. Any weeds that are really horrible will make it much harder to get a prairie established or a woodland. So the biggest thing is just, they might go in and have farming would keep it down, any of the open space, and that open soil is going to just turn into weeds. So if they can get beans in there, that would be ideal. If not, we talked about different kinds of cover crops that could be used. There's an annual regreen from Ohio Prairie Nursery or even winter wheats, anything that wouldn't go to seed to help it be weed free. Down in the floodplain, because there's quite a few acres down in there, floodplain and adjacent woodlands, just really keeping things clean in there. If there is dead or dying trees that might cause damage to people, that those would be removed. And there's a way to actually anchor them into the side of the stream to help the stream perform better and flood less. So if it is available to do so, we would look at the stream management guide and try to keep some of that down there, as it's called LWD, large woody debris. Otherwise it would just be removed. But managing down there, and what we want to look at, is there anything down in there like tree of heaven, Callery pear tree, anything that's going to be a real nuisance to manage in the new seeded area. And those are the woody shrubs that would be managed down in that floodplain area. Really down in the floodplain, I'm sorry.
Just thinking about those pear trees, but they are so invasive, they keep popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
So I know that can potentially, I've removed them on our property. I think I removed 150 last year.
We're looking at is there any mother plant down there that's going to just be all over the site? It's better to manage it now, because spend less money later managing it.
Look for the white flowers this spring. See how many.
So
of
pretty.
That's what people always say. And I keep saying, oh, those are invasive. You need to get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly. The herbaceous, like if there are any grasses or down in there, unless they're horribly invasive, we really just want to leave it there, because basically any disturbance is a vector. So we want to disturb as little as possible down in that floodplain area that's not going to be built, that's going to be conservation, and really just start to pepper in. This is down in the floodplain. We did try to give approximately 200 stems an acre. There were areas that didn't have woods down in there that we would start, well, actually they're called mother colonies, but you would just cluster in trees in a mother colony that would be allowed to expand. And it's easier to manage then, because you can mow around them and just let it expand. So down in that floodplain, to get that to reforest, honestly, all you have to do is stop mowing, it's going to reforest, but we would do it in a managed way.
Is all what you're discussing here right now, this is all going to be taking place before that area is developed, prior to
Platting.
Yeah.
So it might be during construction, but it would be before the lots are physically created.
Mhm. And then, yeah, is this also prior to platting?
Yes.
Okay. The deep rooted slope protection, there are places at the top of, before you go down into the floodplain, where there's some 12 to 25% slopes. If there is vegetation there and no erosion, we won't do anything. But if it looks like it could use some erosion control, we would do that same thing where we'd either do live stakes or trees in mother colonies. And you do something called a crib wall. It's just cross logs below them, below any of your plantings, and it just holds the water and lets the sediment build up and build that bank back up again. If it's in good shape, we won't disturb it and cause more problems. The wetland, all I can say is that would be created per a plan. That's not my area of expertise, but the wetland would be during that time, probably in phases as the development occurs. And they would provide both a seeding of herbaceous plants, herbaceous and woody plants, same 2 layers that we do. The tall grass prairie, this ends up being pretty extensive, at least 10 acres. We did make some commitments in here because to have a successful prairie, you need to prepare the site weed free. You need to seed it appropriately. You don't ever till it all. You use a no seed drill or a no till drill to push the seeds just right under the ground. And then you have to mow manage for 2 years. And there's a commitment to do that. So the mow management, I'm not going to go into that, but we would provide a manual that says, you know, it's monthly the first year, it's a few times the second year, and how to do it and make sure it's successful.
Joe, do you imagine that mow management will take place before Steiner Group hands the HOA over to the?
Yes, yeah, for 24 lots or 26 lots to change hands, I think 2 years is probably, I'm sure they'll retain the property for longer than that, so I believe that'll happen within that time period, correct.
Then there's the woodland restoration, mainly around the road, like it's in a C shape around the road. But we did commit to approximately a little bit more density. That whole area will be seeded too. So it'll be like a prairie, a little different species, because it'll have more like purple coneflower, things that'll take more shade as the trees come up. And it'll be seeded as well to keep the weeds back. The pioneer trees will go in, and then a little later the canopies after you've mowed for a year or so to make sure that it's coming in really good. We did commit to a little higher approximate stems per acre, and more approximately 40 trees per acre that would have some caliper to them. Some might be bigger, but a minimum of 1.5 inch caliper. And those would, again, we would probably cluster them so that it looks more dense in spaces, and encourage what we call the clonal shrubs. Yes, the colony forming shrubs like on the perimeter. So the woodland will kind of taper down and transition into the forest. And that also controls the amount of light and wind that's going into this reforestation area, so it gets shady a little faster. But we did commit how that would be done. And it is also going to have in all of these things prior to, prior to it be turned over to the HOA, the developer is committing to managing it and having a land management manual for the open areas to give to the HOA. And then also 3 years of at least one time, if not 2, an environmental consultant working with the HOA. Because this is going to change, the land will change in this open areas dramatically over a 10-year period. It'll go from early successional to later successional, and just really helping people. It's so much fun just going in and knowing what to take out to encourage the good things to keep coming in. So it's just really exciting to think that you're going to have 35 acres of habitat on a site that could have been wall-to-wall houses, so I'm
I'm
pretty
also
excited.
thinking back to when we did our comprehensive master plan and people kept telling us, I want rural, I want rural. If this isn't rural, I don't know what is. Taking the land and putting it back to what it would have been and using the species that would have been here. Not much public is here to see that we're moving in the right direction. Thank you for coming, sir. But I think we're moving in the right direction.
It does take specific knowledge, geeks like me who really just love this kind of thing, so just transferring that to more people, so more and more people know how to do it is really thrilling, so.
One of the neighbors that's going to be most affected by it is here tonight, Mr. Lane.
Mr. Lane. You have any questions about the commit? We tried to give when and approximately how much without the design actually being done yet, so. For the planting plan.
Yeah. Well, this is the additional detail that, yeah, we were looking for. I've been wondering about it. So
Okay,
I'm glad
good.
that you've got it here.
We talked through what the best format was to actually talk about best practices and make commitments, but I think that document's probably an example you could share with other developers as you proceed, because it seems to be pretty consistent. The acreages might change, but the densities and the types directly correspond with the maps, which I think that it's easy to see on the map what it's supposed to look like, and hopefully give your zoning department some enforcement teams as well. To say, hey, you know, it's all cattails, and then they're probably not right. So we don't, but I think the commitments surpass this. Obviously, the developer wants to see the most appealing product, otherwise they can't sell lots. So obviously, these are minimums, but at least quantified something. It was hard to quantify quality, but that's what we tried to do there. So
How would you say, how much of this is going to happen before the houses are there and how much of it is after the houses are there?
So I could at least answer, as far as I understand, there's proper times to plant and everything else. That's why there's a 2-year period. They'll be simultaneous, but it's not likely to think the neighborhood's going to be fully developed in 2 years. And that's in nature with my comment. People are going to be seeing the open space conservation practices evolve as they build their homes. And that's why the education's key in my mind. Is if I bought a lot, I wouldn't know what they're trying to accomplish. So hopefully having hands-on exercises where residents can actually see how that's going to be maintained will help them understand it as well. But we try to paint a pretty picture, but at the same time, we were talking about I'm used to developers having to plant 3-inch caliber tree or a 2.5-inch caliber tree, but Amy and I were having discussions that it's not a reality that those are going to grow as fast, and their survival rate might actually be less than the conservation practices of trying to promote natural growth. So that's why the 1.5 caliber might be more suiting here than it would be where you guys are trying to mound trees or do something that's more constructed. So it's going to evolve. That's a better way to say it. But that 2-year period is my understanding that that's going to be most critical, unless I'm missing something huge.
Yeah, the 2-year period for the seeded areas. So as much as, without having gone through all the engineering yet, but as much as a perimeter area that can be prepared and seeded, then your customers, then your new neighbors would see something pretty sooner.
That, we're looking at that then primarily up along Harlem Road, some of what you're just discussing there, right?
Correct. Yeah, that frontage. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the heaviest wood.
Yeah, we met with Mr. Lane to talk to him just about what he would see across the road, because across from his driveway will be that reforestation. So he's coming out to where that's going to evolve, but it's a discussion about the ultimate intent of it is to be a true reforestation. So
when all this starts and you start putting in all the plants and things, when everything starts and you got a beginning to it, is there going to be some kind of a schedule that I'll know what should be happening, when and why and how?
yeah, so that 3 pages is meant to be a guide, but ultimately the triggers are township events. So signing the plat, seeing final engineering, like trying to remember the subdivision we just sent over, but 6-lot common access drive. So asking, are you okay with these plans? You could actually look on the schedule and says, this is what's supposed to be happening in the subdivision at this time. But ultimately, that 2-year period is most critical. So it's something more that you'll probably lose track of, and I mean, everybody kind of loses track except for the developer, because at the end of the day, the developer is saying, I've got a commitment to maintain this. The HOA is usually the one that, when they take over maintenance, they're the ones that are actually doing the enforcement. So that's why it's a little unique to have this in a development plan for zoning. But I think it does give you the teeth that, if, I'm not saying that my client or our client would ever do this, but if a developer ever walked away from a project, you could say, hey, you didn't actually meet the spirit and intent of what the vegetative strategy was here. So it gives you something to look at and say, did you plant 40 trees per acre or 80 stems per acre? You know, is that existing? It's pretty easy to say. Well, you might say 250 or 350 and you're so close, but if it's 7, you obviously, we're not meeting the spirit and intent of what's there. So when we talked about approximates, probably the best way to put it, but it's supposed to be a judgment call. Did it actually occur? And not overpopulating it. If you walk out there and there's 500 trees per acre, it's probably not going to survive, because as we just got done talking about it, probably drowned out the roots and you're not going to have the success. So there's a natural goal there that's trying to get accomplished. I don't know if that answered your question, other than I think there's by phase, you'll see that 2-year period start and you'll see that 2-year period stop. But at least when you're signing the plat or you're going through enforcement and issuing building permits or zoning permits, you could actually say, it looks like it's on track or it's not on track.
Just something to, you know, like you said, if you're out there inspecting stuff, you're walking by it, you see a big open spot of mud.
Yeah.
And you're wondering, it's supposed to be cattails.
There's a lot of phrasing in
Stuff
there.
like that. You can look
Yeah.
at it and say, yeah, there's something going on there, or there's something should be going there.
There's a lot of phrasing in there. It says covers the entire land in that terminology, and that's why it's there. So you could specifically say, hey, there's bare ground, there's something's not going right.
Yeah.
So again, the goal is for it to be visually an assessment, but I think based on the qualitative standards that are in there, you'll see that actually enforced pretty easily or judge whether it's a success or not. But my hope is you got people like Amy that continue to be involved in the subdivision process, because even as the HOA takes over, it's going to be educational for them to know what's supposed to look like 5 years from now. And that's why we're making commitments 3 years past turnover. Let's make sure that at least it's headed in the right direction. And then ultimately the end all be all is the HOA is responsible for it, but how do we get them to the point where they actually accept that?
Yeah.
They don't come in and say, we want to mow our open space. Thanks for all that creative planning, but it looks horrible. We want to mow it all. At least hopefully they'll appreciate what the effort and why it's there. And you have a commitment in there that they're intended to keep it this way.
Just a quick check. You're not planning on a lot of cattails, are you?
No, no.
I think cattails are like a native, are they a native plant? They're invasive, aren't they?
There's a native and there's a non-native. The biggest
They
thing with
get out of
cattails
hand.
come in when there's no. I've seen cattails in wetlands and they're contained and they never spread because they have all this competition around.
Yeah, okay.
But if you just have a cattail and there's not the natural competition all around it, yeah, they'll take over.
Yeah.
But that would be something, yeah, they might manage it.
I didn't have anything else to add. It's been fun being in front of you guys. I hope we answered all your questions. If there's any others, we definitely are here to take care of those. But we are excited about coming back and showing you success in the project too. So we submitted for preliminary subdivision approval today. We'll have tech review in a couple weeks. The plan is, as you see it, is what's being submitted. So we'll continue to work with you guys if there's modifications, but we feel like the design is moving forward, and the process that you've led us through to help get to this design has definitely been fruitful. So we're excited to get moving forward with the county and see what we can do to help get the project built.
Well, at this point, I also want to give the public that is participating either in person or on through via Zoom. We still have you have the map, the plat up here of the development showing it, that if there's anyone that is on Zoom that has a question or a comment that you'd like to share, please unmute yourself, identify your name and your address, and then proceed with your comment or question. I have any idea who's still out there because I don't see any names anywhere.
Non-chair.
No, that's fine.
Oh.
As long as the folks can hear me. I'm not getting any feedback, so I'm not sure.
We can hear you.
Somebody said that they could
Bob
hear
said he could hear you.
you.
I heard Bob.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Mr. Lane, do you have any questions or comments?
I just, I'm very impressed with Amy and Joe. If we're gonna have development, this is a wonderful approach to the plan, and I appreciate the zoning commission, making sure that there's a real thing, but, and I have great confidence in it, so. No, for example, I was concerned at the last meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lane, would you step over to the microphone so that
No,
two
was
reasons.
concerned.
One, we want to get it here. We want it to be on our recording for minutes.
Want me to just
purposes,
say,
and then so other folks can hear you.
I was concerned at the last meeting about the driveway and how it appeared to be right across from my driveway. And I met with Joe and Amy and they very quickly moved it so that it's not directly in front of my driveway now. And so, that kind of cooperation and appreciation for not only, the citizens of Harlem Township, the residents, but also of, the neighboring properties. And so I really appreciate it. And just wanted to express my appreciation for their very careful, detailed analysis of what should be here. And it was very refreshing.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Feel free to tell your neighbors about it.
And the Isaacs were concerned. They're next door to you, right? Yeah.
I'll clarify, we didn't move the drive, but we did verify that it wasn't right across from his driveway. But it is across from his frontage, so we're taking care to at least address what that might look like across the way. But I did want to clarify, we didn't
Okay.
officially move it. We just made sure it wasn't where we feared that it might be, so.
Well, that's good. If there's any other questions, please speak up so that we know that you have a question. Otherwise, we'll close the public participation and go back to the zoning commission for any further questions, comments, and possible action that we may take.
I just wish we could have the attendance at a meeting like this that we have at our meetings where they like to complain about things.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yes, if they came to these ones, maybe they wouldn't have so much to complain about, because I think this is really moving in the right direction. And I agree that, Joe, you have done everything that we've asked and been very easy to work with through this process and helped us out making forms for us and all sorts of things. So it's been, I think, as easy as it could be for our first run with the PRCD.
Yes, and I think that also it's nice to have such a quality example here that we're starting with.
Yes, yes.
You know, that we can then hold it up as something to emulate. Yes, at this point, it would be appropriate if that's where we are. If there aren't any additional questions or comments from the zoning commission, we can entertain a motion at this point.
Do you have to close the public session?
Yes, I closed the public session.
Okay. Then I will make a motion in as much as application PRCD 2301 conforms to the intent of the Harlem Township Comprehensive Plan and appears to meet all applicable requirements of Article 13 planned residential conservation district of the Harlem Township zoning resolution. I move that the Harlem Township Zoning Commission recommend to the Harlem Township Board of Trustees that said application be approved.
I'll second it.
Very good. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion on the motion.
I would just like to point out that when you do have any earth moving equipment for those lots 1 and 2. That's a very old cemetery that's right beside it, and sometimes they were not completely marked, their boundaries. Just be really careful.
I think there's a big green buffer between us,
There's,
but
there should be a big green. buffer.
There should
Usually there's no burials in the green area, but because it's mostly floodplain too,
Right,
but
there shouldn't be, but sometimes they pop out where you least expect them,
Yes.
and it's just an ugly process to deal with.
like there's not any major regrading proposed on Oak Gorsuch, so it should just be development of the homes and any grading around the house itself. So hopefully it's minimal. Thanks.
Mhm.
Take a lesson from is it the North Market they're doing down.
Oh, yeah. That's been a nightmare for years.
Gotcha.
It was built over burial site and
Yeah.
They thought they moved all the burials. They never move all the burials. Absolutely never.
Better technology today, but we're still finding them, right? So gotcha.
much better technology today. than
Doesn't
it was.
matter.
Yeah, but that's not going to, not 100% guaranteed. All right, if there's no further discussion on the motion, then I'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. Cannon, would you call the roll on the motion? Aye.
Kelly Manson,
I,
Bruce Hammond. I'll take out a vote. Virginia Lewis,
Aye.
Tom Need,
Aye.
Brittany Howard.
Aye.
All right. The motion has been approved unanimously by the members of the commission. We will therefore be recommending this forward to the trustees. And they will be taking action on it at some point in the future. The first thing that they'll do is they'll set a date at which time they will move the process forward. This is not the same process as is normally the case when the trustees will take action. I'm not sure if they will set how they will set this, but they will set a hearing or a meeting date to consider our recommendation in terms of the recommendation for the overlay district to be applied to the 67 acres. It's not a change in zoning. It's simply applying an overlay district that already exists on that property as it exists throughout the township on all properties that are zoned AR1 or FR1. And in this case, the owner of the property is requesting that the overlay district be applied, which means then that they can develop this planned residential conservation district. And we look forward to that. We've been very pleased with the whole process, as you've heard indicated from several different people on the zoning commission and from several members of the public. So thank you, Mr. Clace, and
Thank you,
members
guys.
of your team.
Thank you. I had a relevant question about Mr. Lane's property, if I could throw it, just because I think the conversation's fluid to what you're.
Yeah, we can have a conversation. But
Yeah.
the motion has been passed.
Sure, I appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Lane brought up a good point. He has 10 acres across the road, and he had an interest not in building out, 26 lots, but the idea of a couple lots clustered on the property. There's a substantial amount of floodplain and things that he'd like to protect in the future. But he asked me what the farm residential district would do for him. And it's a question that we get a lot, right? So my comment was you might not qualify for the planned residential conservation district. But when he looks to prescribe easements, he's generating 3-acre lots on land that's environmentally sensitive across the road. So as someone that might be a candidate for farm residential rezoning, I just raise his question, and it might be a plan that I'd like to schedule time to talk with you just about in general, how you would want to treat a property like that, without coming in for a farm residential rezoning, if there's a way to capture that. So he has 4 acres of floodplain essentially. That's a pretty sizable chunk between floodplain and wooded areas on the site. And I like the concept of what you're looking to do, but in conversations with him, it definitely raised concern on why the farm residential district might be land consumptive. I understand prescribing density, and he wouldn't be looking for more lots. He might actually be looking for less lots than what he would get in a farm residential district. But we were talking just about, I drew up a plan, it was 2.9 acre lot, and he said, why the 0.9? Why does it have to be so large? Why is it taking up all this floodplain area? And yeah, I just raised that as a question of something that you might want to look at as you explore the code, but also something that we probably have a real life example right across the road that we could look at. We did do a plan for him, and it's something we could share with you, whether it's tonight or another night, just to have a more informal conversation and see if you guide him toward the farm residential district, or if you would say maybe that'd be a candidate for a divergence for minimum acreage to try to do something more creative.
You may want to look into a USDA conservation easement on the floodplain area.
Yeah, I think he's not using it to get density. His just discussion was he's so far off the road, and there's beautiful property up front that would probably make suitable for 1 or 2 residential lots, versus doing frontage lot splits, which I don't think would be in character with any of the area there. Especially with what we're planning across the road. The thought process was maybe a common access drive that might be more appropriate, and in line with that, less environmentally impactful, but creating a 3 acre lot, for example, or 2 3 acre lots in there is just very invasive. So, and I think he's actually got more than 10 acres with what he's got there, but our discussion raised more concerns in my mind about, what else would you guys be open to? And as you're guiding development, right now, there's a pretty hard line between PRCD and AR1 or FR1. So I just raised that as a question of future discussion, and definitely something that if we brought you an application for FR1, it may come with a list of variances if we're not working within the PRCD. So the PRCD might be somewhat suitable for smaller lots, especially in cases like this.
Would be to wait until the new.
That's what I was gonna say. I
The
think
new
we have other
overlays are
things that are going
developed.
to throw the public into the tizzy that we need to deal with first, and then we'll move on to other. But I think it's, certainly something to consider, because I think there are a lot of us on these big country lots that have sort of unusable space within our current zoning that could be used in a more environmentally friendly way.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say it's unusable land today. My question is,
Regulations.
with our current regulations, with your current regulations, I think we're just eating up more land with it. And I think there's opportunities to cluster design, such as what we've done with Justin's states that Duncan runs. So if there's more opportunities to do that, we might try to bring some of those forward to you, and it might be worth a site walk. So maybe at least in line with Mr. Lanes, who he's not necessarily wanting to sit on it forever. We might share that concept plan with you and see if maybe we schedule a site walk in line with the PRCD, knowing it's a pretty substantial variance, but we can at least show you what the impacts of both those 2 designs might look like. Maybe we can have a future meeting where we look at them side by side, and you can say that's either positive or negative for you. So,
Oh, it's definitely something that I think as a commission, we would be interested in.
perfect.
Taking it under advisement and consideration, because I think that we're always interested in looking at being more conservative in
Mhm.
that regard, in terms of protecting the natural resources, rather than having the lots get large. And then the people that have the large lot, they let it, in worst case scenario, they let it become go back to nature, but it contains a lot of weeds as opposed to or they have a 5 acre lawn.
Sure.
And, we don't want to see that either.
Well, if you'd be open to it, a couple members joining us, we'd love to walk with you and show you what that looks like. And that might be a more informal setting to bring you back a more formal proposal. But if that's something you'd want to schedule, we'd be open to it, whether it's tonight or in the near future. We'd like to try to set something up with you. So. Thank you.
Well, I don't know that it'll be tonight, but yes, we'll look at considering that.
Well, you want to do a walkabout first.
A walkabout, yes,
Just sort of as an informal, this is what we're thinking.
yes,
Yeah.
in line with the PRCD.
The one or two members of the
Yeah.
zoning commission.
If we're doing it as it's a walkabout, we wouldn't be taking the whole commission.
No.
No,
And
but we like all of you, so any of the two of you would work, so. No, but we are open to that. If it's something you'd want to schedule, I'd be happy to put it on the schedule tonight. Otherwise,
Oh, I see what you're
yeah,
suggesting.
might schedule some dates. I do think it's something that, it's not hypothetical. It's something that we could look at least, and something he'd like to move forward with some type of plan. He wants to plant plantings in line with conservation practices. So he invited Amy and I out to talk, and I think he doesn't want to plant them where they're going to be in the path of any future potential house lots. So I think his interest may not be to build a house this year, but he definitely wants to understand what his option is and what he might be getting towards. So it's not a hypothetical in my mind. So it wouldn't be I think it would be helpful for all to see that as a firsthand practice.
Considering how long it takes, I wouldn't necessarily advise you not to plant this year. I mean, it takes a while to get things approved anyway.
Well,
So
But
you can easily have a growing season. What do you
just
got?
from an informational, educational standpoint, I would be interested in doing this, even if this is hypothetical, just to consider as we move forward with all these other overlay districts. I think it's something that we should look into and think about as we're going along with other things. So I would be okay doing a walkabout.
When were you thinking about doing it? Soon.
I'm at Mr. Lane's just availability on that. Him and his wife, as long as they're open to visitors, if you have a time of day that works for you. I know visits we've done in the past, usually 9:30 or 10 in the morning. I think that would be more than suitable, or later in the day, 4:30 or 5, something like that.
what time is best?
It is later now, so for 5 o'clock. would
You
work.
like to do it in later, Bill, or in the morning?
Probably later.
In the evening?
Well, I mean, we want to get there before.
Well, you have to get there before it gets dark.
Yeah, 3 or 4.
Unless we wait till the,
Well, daylight savings time is Sunday, isn't it?
that's what I'm saying,
It
yeah.
starts right away.
It's coming up soon, daylight savings time, so it'll be getting dark instead of at 6:30, it'll be getting dark at 7:30. So we could look at 6 o'clock at some point down the road in a couple of weeks. Say this coming Sunday is that when it switches?
Yeah.
The 12th.
Well,
Yes, it is. So after the 12th, 6 o'clock would probably still work. Okay. And what day of the week are you looking at potentially?
I'm flexible, so if whatever's.
Whatever is best for you. I'd like it before the 21st, if that's possible.
Well, we could do it next week.
What about the 15th?
The 15th, did you say, or the 16th?
15th, 1-5.
1-5. There's a trustee, no, there's no trustee meeting on the 15th, so that would work good. I could do it on the 15th.
I can as well. I might have kids with me, but.
But your husband will
They're
take
good
care
for
of
a
them,
hike.
right?
No, I'll have
Or
one
you could
spare-
bring them
Yeah,
along.
I'll have one in the backpack and one in the front pack and we'll be fine.
Well, that'll work.
Workout.
Yes,
Or-
yeah, in the boot.
If you have an all-wheel drive stroller. All-terrain stroller.
Yeah, I could swap the tires.
Are
out
you
for
still
something.
gonna be in the booth then?
I don't know. I tried to take it off yesterday and it did not go well, so
Yeah.
potentially
I would be interested in participating.
I would as well.
Did you too?
That's just that, yeah. That would be 2 of us. We can't do 3 without making it a meeting.
Right.
But I think the zoning inspector is supposed to be at the walkabout.
That goes without saying.
If you want to participate, Mike, we would love to have you participate. Okay, the 5th, we're looking at doing it on the 15th at 6 o'clock. All right,
What time?
15th at 6 o'clock.
Sounds great.
And we'll meet you at Bill's property.
Yep, there's ample parking. Just watch out for the deer. Right? There's ample parking. Just watch out for the deer.
Right.
Yeah.
Do we have to go all the way down your driveway to Parkville, or can we pull off up? up in the grassy area at the top there. Yeah. Down to the turnaround by your house. Okay.
So Joe, is this phase 4?
It's leap across the road. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, no, we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.
All right. I did not call our meeting out of recess. We continued with a conversation, but we need to close. I said we were closing the hearing before. But I did not call the meeting out of recess, but we continued to have discussion. So the hearing on PRCD 2301 was closed at 8:47. And we'll reconvene our regular meeting. Mr. Cannon, would you call the roll again?
Mike Kavler.
Aye, here.
Dan,
Here.
Dan, here, Daniel Lewis.
Here.
Tom Mead,
Here.
Brittany Hopper.
All right. So our regular meeting is back in session.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hope you have a great evening.
And we set up a time to meet informally on March the 15th at 6 o'clock.
We'll look forward to that. Thank you. Have a
See you
great
then.
evening.
All right, well, we approved the minutes, folks. In terms of the other agenda items, there was an item. Do we want to come back to that? How would you like to proceed? One item that I put on the agenda was the item dealing with the
Standard statement.
general
Yeah,
statement.
do we have any reports? Which comes?
I have no additional reports. Yeah, we do have reports. Mike, do you have a report? Zoning director?
Just wanna let you guys know a little information for you. As far as total permits for the year. I'm sorry.
For Amanda, microphone.
She knows my- This is Mike Cannon. So far for March, right now we're sitting at 13 permits as opposed to last year we had 15. Year before we had 15 at this time and 27 in 2020. As far as the breakdown goes, we had single family residentials. We have 6 permits so far this year, which is actually 1 up from last year. We have 2 accessory buildings, and that's where the deficit is. We're 6 down from the year before with 8. No remodeling, no signage. Pools were up 1 over last year. We're at 3 instead of 2. Decks, porches, there were none the year before. We're at 2 this year. So overall, like I said, we're basically 2 permits down from last year, this year, but with a lot of the calls that I've been getting, I think those permits are going to jump up pretty quickly, probably over the next month. So I see it picking up, and with a lot, I've had probably, I know I had 3 calls today on people asking specifics about lots that aren't bought yet. So I know there's going to be some houses kicking in really quick here. So that's really all I have for you. There's nothing new. Anything new comes up, I'll communicate with you guys and let you know. So you got a heads up.
You heard anything from Mr. Hershad, who said he was coming back?
Mr.
tonight?
Hershad emailed me and said, had some questions. I answered his questions and told him to call me so I could get a clarification on exactly what he wanted, but he did not get back with me.
Okay.
I thought maybe he popped in tonight, but he hasn't popped in tonight.
Yeah, I was anticipating he was going to be the one bringing in an application tonight.
He's hit and miss. He'll be a whirlwind for about a day with questions on email and this, and you think something's going to happen, and then you answer him back and say, I told him, call me. So he called me, we need to talk about this so we get it clear. Nothing. So
And the rest of the commission may not be aware of what's been going on here with the air quality in this building, and the offices having been closed. What's the status on that? Do you know?
Hopefully it's better. We're all sitting in here.
no. For everything that I'm up on, I know we had some people come in last week and do some testing, and their suggestion was that we weren't in here unless we felt comfortable with being in here because, you know, Amanda's had two asthma attacks just sitting in the office. And I know with Kendra and myself, I mean, we've been back and forth. By the end of the day, you know, you're getting a rasping voice and stuff like that. So anyways, that could just be our suggestion, who knows? But we'll know something Wednesday. And the person that came in and did the testing basically told us, you know, there's something, he doesn't know what it is that's in here, whether it be some mold or whatever, maybe diesel, I don't know what it is, but you know, it's really what your tolerances for right now. So I just come in and make sure that the office is open till noon. And I'm usually out dealing with nuisance properties and checking on things like that. So I'm in and out of the office, so it doesn't affect me much. But I know with Kendra and Amanda sitting in here, it gets them.
So what is
I wonder if
this?
it's more,
I
Or
think I missed the-
sitting.
I think I missed the boat. What happened?
There's something in here that they think, I don't know, they've had somebody in here, but they think maybe mold, maybe diesel that's affecting
Oh, like,
respiratory.
it's a.
oh, like
it's
not something
causing-
you can smell, like not like some,
The silent killer.
a silent.
Apparently,
okay.
it's not anything that you can
That's
smell.
great. That's wonderful.
We don't know.
So glad.
It could be nothing. I mean, it could be, I'm sure it's something probably, but it could be nothing. We don't know. That's why they brought somebody in to test for it, but.
That's
They fixed the sewer gas thing, right?
That's what I, that's.
At
the
one
last
time,
I saw
at one
was
time,
sewer
that
gas.
was the issue or the question. I mean.
Okay.
We'll find out. Because he's done some extensive testing. He was here probably for about 4, 5, 6 hours that day. He's assured us that he'll find out. He'll have something Wednesday.
So the people that are primarily being affected are the people that are in the office on a full-time
Yeah.
kind of basis. or
Us in the back, because whoever's in here, because you know, fire department's got the front door open a lot of times and they're throwing things, they're in and out. They're in bigger space than we are, as opposed to sitting in an office and.
Yeah. I mean, it obviously, it's not affecting us in this room.
That we know of.
I know, right?
Well, I think you gotta be sitting there for an extended amount of time too. I mean, 2, 3, 4, like I said, I sit in there till noon, from 8 to noon every day, and it's usually nothing bothered me by that time.
Well, it probably is more, like you said earlier, it has to do with sensitivity. If you're an asthmatic, you may be more sensitive to it than otherwise.
Yeah, and like I said, you know, like Kendra sits in here all day long in her office, and you know, and if it's coming at one of the blasting you from above, it's more likely to get you. So
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if it had been resolved yet. That's why I was asking.
come Wednesday, it'll be gone. I'll figure it out.
Because I saw the sign on the door when I came in tonight. That basically said the offices were still closed. I didn't know how much longer that was gonna last.
Probably till Wednesday. Like I said, I'm in here to keep it open till from 8 to 12, so I'm definitely here till then. I'm usually here all day, but like I said, I'm in and out depending on what I'm following up on and what I'm looking at.
Thank you. Did you have any report on any of the follow-up that was occurring on the properties that have been resubmitted to the prosecutor's office for follow-up that were in violations?
Nuisance properties. You want to know about those?
If the prosecutor did anything, that's what I'm interested
Yeah.
in knowing.
Where we stood last time, and obviously I did not wasn't here to give you this report, but on the properties that we had before, we basically had to start over. And I went out and started over on all of them.
I knew that that's where you were, yeah.
I sent out the letters 2 weeks ago, and they had till this Friday to clean them up, and
Did you have to start over because the prosecutor changed or because Matt left? Like if we're,
probably a little bit of both. I mean, you had the prosecutor change. Corey, who's our prosecutor now, I sent him a list of all the nuisance properties.
but we get a new prosecutor every week, like you said. So if we're starting over, every time we get a new prosecutor, they're never gonna be fixed.
That's what the people that are in violation are hoping.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, imagine it'd just be just like wiping out the zoning commission every month and saying, hey, let's pick up where we left off. You guys be sitting there looking at us going, no, that ain't happening. I don't know what you've done, but we've talked, I've got it all going on for those. we've had 3 properties that have been with that 14 days to do something and they did nothing. You know, I went out and got new pictures of them today. So we're gonna take the next step on that. 2 letters, then it goes to Corey and then Corey will follow up on it. Then there was another one I started up on. Then there was a few other ones that I followed up on for Mike, that I went and talked to the people and I did an inspection on the garage, popped in and did him and looked at that. And I talked with you about that, but
Yeah, and I noticed the one down the road there, which we had talked about with the lighted sign.
yep,
He's turned the light off. It's not, at least. I don't know if he did, you said you talked to him, so he turned off did he come to the BZA yet to get a permit for
he
the
did. He
sign?
came and got the permits and he's gonna probably show up. He's not come to the BZA yet. He just came probably a week and a half ago and got all the paperwork for his permits and everything that he wants. But he'll probably show up. I would imagine the 20th, he'll show up. And you're gonna have, you got some other things going on, the people down here with the dump trucks. That situation.
Oh, yeah, that one you
We're
talked to
dealing
me
with,
about.
I'm sure I'm gonna send him your way or I'm gonna send him Jim's way.
What ended up happening with that Rogers garage?
That's the one he's
What they're
talking
talking
about.
about.
He
Okay,
did do a visit there.
Get him a visit, so.
I was gonna say, cause I thought we had said like, you can't be sending out mailers, and then not too long ago, I got another mailer.
Yeah.
from them.
I'm still getting them.
You'd
too.
think you'd check who was on the zoning commission and not send the mailers to their house, but it'd be too easy.
But like I said, you may or may not get the dump truck people. We're not sure which way we're gonna go on that. Yes, it's probably gonna be up to him and his lawyer, so.
I noticed this afternoon that somebody's cleaning up the property in Harlem Village on the corner.
Really?
It got sold.
Yeah.
And yeah, when they sold it, they had said, like, the advertisement was, this is gonna be a tear down. So I don't know who bought it and what they're planning on doing, but
Yeah,
They
they had
have-
3 dumpsters there for a couple of weeks and. the
Do they know
dumpsters are
they can
gone.
only rebuild on the same footprint?
that, I don't know, as you know, realtors like to tell their clients things that are not at all what the zoning commission allows. So whether or not their realtor has given them factual information, I don't know. I just know that
They're
when I was
welcome to
like,
tear it down, but they
browsing-
can't expand it.
yeah. I was just looking at stuff for sale in Harlem Township and saw that one had, like, on the realtor's site, this is most likely a tear down.
Is that something that Mike catches when they file a permit or how?
For a tear down?
They can tear down.
No, they
No,
can
no,
tear
no,
it
like
down.
when they go to when they go to build.
Yeah,
When they come back to rebuild will be when they have to get a permit.
And the thing that I feel like often happens is the people who bought it might not know that they have to build on that same footprint. And they could go to the BZA for a variance. And the BZA is pretty likely to give an area variance, but if it's a change of owner, there shouldn't be an area variance allowed
If
because,
they tore it down on purpose, they
Yeah.
shouldn't allow it.
yeah.
I mean, if it was a tornado took it out, they might. But, you know, if they're just tearing it down because they want to build something new.
I mean, if it was unlivable though.
They can rebuild within
Yeah.
the same
On the
footprint
same
of the
footprint.
existing house. But it's, I mean, it's not like they have much room to grow anyway. It's not a big lot.
No, none of the ones in Harlem are. That's why it's
Yeah.
got its own
Yeah.
district.
Well, and that is in the district, so they
Yeah.
could tear it down and rebuild
and
something
rebuild, yeah,
because of the zoning that we did.
absolutely. If they wanted to build bigger, then have to
Yeah.
come in for a variance, but
They can't encroach any more than they already have on the frontages.
on the road, yeah. Where
Or on
how
the
would they approach, they'd be
setbacks.
on the center line. They're about as close as you want to get.
Plus they gotta get a septic permit.
All right. Well, thank you, Mike.
Do you
And
know, is it also the property towards Duncan Run from it where those trailers are? Is that part of the same? Did it get sold?
no,
or is
that's,
This
that's
one
different.
trailer, the next- Yeah, the next trailer,
somebody else.
somebody
Okay.
else.
There's like, let's see, I think there's 3 lots there
that- Okay,
and they're all separate.
There's a vacated alley too.
Yeah.
If you wanna get into that.
Mm.
So they moved their fences and stuff and took over the alley.
Mike, I do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
Is naturalist in your job description?
Naturalist
Yes.
is that.
trees and bushes.
I don't wanna know. You know, if they're building stuff down there and I'm walking through there and it looks like something's not being taken care of, needs to be addressed.
So it is.
That's why we need a schedule on that. Cause I would like to go through there, and if I'm in there inspecting a house, I'm gonna go right by everything that should have been planted, right? Should have been planted, should be growing, should be,
It doesn't get taken out.
yeah. And I've had to deal with HOAs before, and sometimes they aren't as diligent on what they should be, so.
That's one question I think that we forgot to ask Joe is the marks. How do we mark the boundaries between the private property and the common space? And I know over at Belts, they were using these green.
They had
markers.
said they would do something like
Yeah,
that. I
they
don't
did.
know if it got added.
I think Joe said something about. Well, actually, they just talked about the
Yeah.
green markers that somebody else had. I guess it really wasn't addressed how they were gonna mark it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something to address next time. I'll ask you the next time I talk.
I mean, it seems like it would be simple enough to, you put them in for all kinds of utilities.
Yeah,
You just mark it, this is yours and this is not yours, and leave it alone.
yeah, and I would think that'd be something when the people buy their houses, they gotta know where they can and can't cut it, because we don't want them cutting over our prairie or our green spaces or whatever else.
That they're not allowed to go out and be mowing on the common space
Right, so they'll
to
have,
make it part
they
of their
should have their
lawn.
lots marked. I mean, they should be buying a lot that is marked.
Absolutely, they should know where they're.
So that's something that can be addressed with them. Yeah, I don't know. We did bring that up previously, but it was not brought up again tonight. All right, thanks, Mike. Other reports. Tom, do you have anything to report for strategic planning?
Yeah.
Um,
They're the same as last.
And Bruce and Jim, you got your cohorts back here too.
So real briefly, we read through the mixed use district overlay district last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago, and we're getting Holly's giving us back a version of that with all the changes we suggested. Tomorrow, we're doing the clustered conservation district, which is a PRCD with sanitary sewers. Then we have to decide whether we're gonna do the town center very quickly or wait on that. And we're gonna try to get those wrapped up in a couple of meetings and onto the zoning commission. So we can get them read. Now, if you want to read where we are now before we actually have a finished document, let me know and I'll send you the text of what we're working on, but you may just want to wait until. Because you're gonna have your say anyway, when you get the final text from the planning committee. And it's probably enough reading. We've got books.
If anybody wants more reading, let Tom know.
Exactly. That's not.
Okay. Anyone else have anything you'd like to report to the commission tonight? All right. I didn't have any new business, but I did put under old business a potential discussion of the standard statement that Virginia had drafted earlier, and then we had input back from Kendra that public policy with regard to dealing with social media, that the township has a policy on that. I'm not sure exactly how that relates to this. I read the policy and this is a little bit different. Basically, I'm not looking to, and I don't think Virginia was either. You're not looking to be posting anything on social media about the zoning commission and identifying yourself as a member of the zoning commission, correct? That's not what this is about.
So I feel Joni has been on some of the Nextdoor stuff with me. What I have been trying to do is on Nextdoor, when somebody blatantly lies about something, either trying to say, this is actually how it works, or might I direct you to the information about our public meetings that you are welcome to attend. Those are usually my go-tos, this is where this information is, or this is why this information is wrong. if I am not supposed to be doing that, that is fine. I can stop doing that, although I do think there is some sense
I
in,
think there's a difference between what we post under our names versus what gets posted under a zoning commission name. And I never post under a zoning commission.
no, I'm always doing it under my personal name too. Now, if people ask me, what is your source for this? I have said in the past, like, well, I'm on the zoning commission, and so I don't know if that's crossing a boundary that I'm not supposed to. So I'm not
It's not
I'm
a
not
secret.
trying
I
to
mean, it's
be on
out there on the
social media to
website.
like pick some petty fight with residents. That's never been my goal. I'm not there to nitpick. I'm trying to make sure that if that's the only avenue where members of the public are getting their information, I'm trying to make sure they have the correct information. That's all I've been trying to do. And I thought everything was fine with that until I start getting, well, I only got one private message that was not necessary.
When you say private, instead of them posting it on Nextdoor so that everybody could see it, they just send it to you?
Yes.
That's the difference.
And if they want to post it so everyone can see it, fine. If that's the level you want to stoop to that level where everybody can see that you're stooping to that level.
Ah,
You don't need
So
to,
you got the name calling business, huh?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you don't, yes, we are paid. Not much, so I still consider myself basically a volunteer for this position, and if I'm volunteering my time to help the township, then why are you coming at me when I'm
Yeah.
trying to educate and help make sure the residents have this information? So that I didn't want to get into a cat fight with this member of the public via private message, because that's not my goal. I'm not here to have some
I never
cyberbullying attack with,
respond to private messages.
Yes, and
on
I
the
didn't-
store. Never.
I did not respond either, but I think there may be some sense in having some, as a member of the zoning commission, it's my duty to maintain open communication with the residents.
Mhm.
If you would like to contact me, please contact me via my official email or in a public forum.
Yeah, I think we've both invited people to come here to our meetings.
Oh,
If there's
endlessly, but do they?
no, but we both still do it. And I
Yes.
think we have a kind of an obligation to do that.
And I agree. I'm not
That's enough.
I'm not a huge fan of a lot of aspects of social media, but if the public is going to be on there saying whatever they want, then I feel that somebody should say, here is where these meetings are held, here is how you can attend. So that at least they know that that information is available to them somewhere.
And here's the text of the zoning resolution.
Yeah.
Well,
You just direct them to the township website and they can find things.
So
That's
if I'm fine doing that, I'll continue doing that, which is basically what has happened.
I don't see why that's an issue, honestly, but
Okay, well, I didn't either, which is why I had been doing it.
I thought Kendra's stuff was about if you want to create a township Facebook's page, they already have that. So
Yeah.
she didn't want that to be done.
No, and I have no intention of doing that. This is just me as a private
And I'm not
citizen
even willing
saying,
to be on Facebook.
well, but I think it goes a little further than that, and that meaning that you create a statement and you post it on Facebook and you sign your name as vice chair of the zoning commission. That's what she's basically saying you shouldn't do.
Never happens.
yeah, so I haven't been doing that either. I have on one or two occasions had somebody ask how I know, and I will say that I'm a member of the zoning commission. Is that a line that I should not be crossing?
The document doesn't
I
say
don't know.
anything about that.
I mean, I read that policy, but basically to me, what it says is not to be posting things on social media and signing your name as a member of the zoning commission.
Yeah.
it's easy enough for anybody to find out who is on the commission by just going to the township website where we're all,
Listed.
Yeah, if somebody asks you, you don't even have to. you
Well,
don't have
sure,
to
if
say.
somebody asks, you don't have, I'm not telling
Yeah.
you to deny it or
Yeah.
say,
oh, no, it's not me.
oh, that's not me, it's another Brittany Albert.
It's probably Carl Richardson if it's
Yeah,
not me.
yeah.
You're gonna mention Carl's name.
So but coming
Yeah,
back
what-
to this, do we need this statement then? Is this something that we really want to consider, or you just put it out there that if you want to use it, you can use it?
Yeah,
But
so
I have not had any reason to think I need to use anything like that. I never got anything.
and I haven't in
private.
the past either. I just wanted to have something in case this were to happen again. I can continue ignoring. And that's fine. But if it gets to a point where like, and this hasn't happened, but if messages start coming regularly and I'm like, okay, you gotta stop messaging me. I think there is some sense in having something ready that is unified between all of us to say, this is not how we communicate with you. Here are your avenues to communicate. Goodbye.
I think it's also important that, if people are passing misinformation and you see it, I think it is really good to chime in and say, this is where you can find accurate information. So to that point, yeah, I think it would be good to have a standard statement. You could use it, you could not, whatever you want, but I think we do have a duty to make sure that misinformation isn't getting out there if we see it.
Well,
Yes.
The statement, and I don't know, I brought it with me so that
Okay.
this is what Virginia had crafted before. Says members of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission must conduct meetings openly per Ohio sunshine laws. Please direct all of your questions and comments to members of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission in a public meeting. Information on public meetings can be found at harlemtwp.com. If you cannot attend an upcoming meeting, please send your questions or comments to the zoning commission through an official email address, also found on harlemtwp.com. That's the standard statement that she was offering.
My only revision that I thought of, I said public meeting. I also wouldn't really have any issue if they commented to me on Nextdoor in something that everyone could see.
Mhm.
So I don't know if public meeting should be public setting or something else to indicate, like, if you want to message, like, post something on Nextdoor about it, it's fine. If I see it and get to it, great.
Mhm.
Just don't do it privately was my big thing.
No, setting would be fine too, I think.
Setting. Yeah, so I think if we change meeting to setting,
Did you read it one more time? I didn't save it. I can't find it. You read it one more time,
Oh, sure.
just the beginning.
The members of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission must conduct meetings openly per Ohio sunshine laws. Please direct all of your questions and comments to members of the Harlem Township Zoning Commission in a public meeting, and she's suggesting maybe
Setting.
change that to setting.
Yeah, that's fine.
Information on public meetings can be found at harlemtwp.com. If you cannot attend an upcoming public meeting, please send your questions or comments to the zoning commission through an official email address, also found on harlemtwp.com.
Yeah, I think that's good.
I mean, hopefully we won't have to use it, but then if you got something privately that you did not want to respond to, you have.
Yeah,
to-
this isn't something you're going to post up on
No,
social
no.
media in a public way. This is just a message that if you need to respond to somebody that's giving you a hard time or calling you names or whatever, then you could use that as a response.
Yes.
That's what she's suggesting, right, Virginia?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Can you resend
Alright.
that though, with the updated word? I didn't save it. for some reason.
Yes, I will do that.
I'll put it.
All right,
back.
Virginia, you'll go ahead and send it out to everybody again,
Yes.
and then you can copy the statement and put it somewhere that you can access it if you ever need it.
Mhm.
But 2 years from now, you'll forget where that is, so you have to ask Virginia.
Ruh-roh. I'll forget too.
Let's save it in a really special folder.
Yeah. All right, well-
May I make, you still,
Go ahead.
May I make a motion?
That we adjourn?
Yes.
Yes,
At what time, Tom?
9:17, look at that.
it's
early.
9:17, correct.
17.
Less than 2 hours.
Second. Oh,
Wow.
did somebody second?
Adjourned at 9:17. I'm writing it down, so I'll have it.
Okay.
All right, and then we stated it so that hopefully, Amanda, you can hear that. We adjourned at 9:17.
Okay.
Lovely to be
So-
here.
All right, thank you all.
Uh, Inventory,
Yes.
What about inventory?
send me a couple of dates that you're available.
All right. We're getting closer, huh?
Yeah,
I'm gonna go over and shut off Zoom.
okay. And
Brittany, it's-
I may be late or not coming next week because the dog's having knee surgery,
who is?
the dog.
Brittany.
How's your wife doing after hers?
She's back teaching classes.
Feeling better?
Did she have a
No.
full replacement?
No.
Had a PRP class member.
My mom just had a torn meniscus repaired.